Okay, so here's the thing we're not considering.
Okay.
We're always like, Selena can't be the best assassin. What if all the other assassins legitimately suck?
Alrighty. We're ready for chapter 52. It's a moderate length chapter. Fine amount. Not crazy long, not weirdly short. Let's go for it. Wait, how did we end the last chapter? Oh, right. We ended the last chapter with Selena killing Archer, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened. That's definitely what happened.
Okay. Chapter 52. Kale watched blood bubble out of Archer's lips as Selena let him slump to the stone floor. She stared down at the body, her final words to him hovering in the air. Like bats.
But she was...
Running claws over Kale's already chilled skin. She closed her eyes, tilted her head back as she took a long breath, as if she were embracing the death before her, and the stain it left as payment for her vengeance. Once again, killing is so evil and bad.
I memorized the names of every person I kill. I'll never forget them.
He had arrived in time to hear Archer beg for his life, and utter the words that had been his last mistake. Kale shifted his boot against the step to warn her that he was there. How much of her face senses did she retain when she looked like a human? She's a fae, that's right. Ugh. Archer's blood. Whew, he's been mentioned in every single paragraph so far.
Because he's important to me.
Please, let him die.
No, yeah,
let him rest.
Please never mention him again.
Never mention him again, please. Archer's blood spread across the dark stones, and Selena opened her eyes as she slowly turned to Kale. The blood had soaked the ends of her hair, turning them a brilliant red. For once, the blood isn't so dark it looks black. Wow. Also, again, what kind of light does he have down here that you can see brilliant red?
You know, we might have been wrong, but they've been saying torch this whole time. We've been assuming it's a fire torch. What if it's a flashlight, but they're in England, so it's a torch?
Yeah, but they've talked about lighting it. Well, I guess they could just be meaning flipping a switch.
That's why they only say lighting it and never talk about do they have matches, do they have flint and steel.
OMG, you're so right. They haven't mentioned how they light the torches. I think they're fire, though, because it's talked about the oil.
Oh, yeah.
Because that weird lighting oil thingy definitely got lit from a torch, I think. I wasn't being serious.
I wasn't.
I was being silly.
I was being silliest.
Silliest. And her eyes, ellipsis, there was nothing there, as though she'd been hollowed out. For a heartbeat, he wondered if she would kill him too, just for being there, seeing the dark truth of her.
They said her eyes were hollowed out, like there was nothing left. And for a moment, I was like, Anatole? From Rings of Power with his big baby doll eyes? And then I was like, how can I associate them together?
How could you?
With his great big baby doll eyes.
Great big baby doll eyes. He played them. Selena could never play as well as he could.
He never could.
He lays it on thick, but not too thick, unlike Selena.
He lays it on thick, but I want him to, so it's okay.
Yeah. Also, it sticks with his general character he's been displaying to everyone.
Yeah.
That was an awesome performance from Charlie Vickers. Charlie Vickers. And Charles Edwards. Anyways, back to this. She blinked, and the killing calm in her eyes vanished, replaced only by bone-deep weariness and sorrow. An invisible burden. You know, I feel like this is something you see a lot, and I don't know if it's just a trope in writing, how much truth it is in it, but, like, killing calm. Mm-hmm. Like, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how much truth there is in it. It's like, and I feel like it wouldn't really be calm, most likely. It's probably, like, some degree of disassociation.
Yeah.
If you're, like, an average person.
not that I know anything, but I would guess maybe if, like, they had a fight and now they have this killing calm, it's, like, the dip after the adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
That, and maybe some disassociation. It could be shock as well, where it's just, like...
Well, I meant when she was going to kill, too, she's like, this calmness, like, nothing.
Oh, yeah,
Boom.
this calm. Oh, yeah, I don't fucking know. Maybe you're entering, like, a focus zone where you're like, I'm gonna get him. The world goes, you know, kind of, like, numbs out. Because I'm so focused on what I'm doing. But I don't know if I've ever had that experience.
I've never experienced that, yeah.
I've never decided to kill someone.
An invisible burden that he couldn't begin to imagine made her shoulders slump. She picked up the black book that Archer had dropped on the damp stone. So glad he didn't, drop it in the water or something. Like, it washes away. Those alligators get it. Mm-hmm.
Because the portal's still open, right? Yeah, because they were going to go
No, they
up.
closed it. She closed it with the generic closing spell.
See? They could have... Anyway, not enough. I don't count enough. Keep reading.
She picked up the black book that he dropped on the damp stone, but let it dangle from her fingers as if it were a piece of dirty clothing. I owe you an explanation, was all she said.
And you're not getting one, Gable.
Selena refused to let the healer look at her until Fleetfoot's leg had been fixed.
Well, no, that's not surprising with the magic. Wait, no, there's no magic. I was about to say magic seems to come so easily. A healer could probably be like, fix! And it would work, but I forgot they don't have magic.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I read the next sentence, and I'm like, this isn't really congruous with how the dog was acting in the last chapter. Supposedly being too lame and injured to, like, flee.
Run. Yeah.
And, like, make it kind of a big deal in the minor way that anything is with this dog. It was only a long scratch, but it was deep. Oh, wait, sorry, I misread it. It was only a long scratch, but it was deep. Personally, I wouldn't say only a long scratch, but it was deep. That's a laceration, my dear. That's not a scratch. It's not a scratch. If it's deep, you can call that a cut, a laceration. Anyways, I misread that slightly, but still, scratch, not the appropriate word. Selena had held Fleetfoot's head in her arms as the thrashing dog was forced to swallow water laced with a sedative.
Seems like you should have given it before you started poking around on its leg to make it thrash. Just saying.
So true. Why is the dog thrashing? Dog should be thirsty. Give her that sedative water. So true. Dogs should not be thrashing yet. Well, clearly they don't know what they're doing. They're not vets. They're not vets. It's just a generic healer. Water laced with a sedative. Dorian helped as best as he could while the healer worked on the dog, lying unconscious on Selena's dining room table.
But he was pretty useless. So
what was he going to do? Kale leaned against the wall of the room, arms crossed over his chest. He said nothing to Dorian since they'd gone down into the passageway. The young, brown-haired healer didn't ask any questions either. Once Fleetfoot was patched up and moved to Selena's bed, Dorian insisted Selena get her head looked at. But Selena waved him off and told the healer that if she didn't inspect the crown prince first, she'd report her to the king. My gosh. Scowling, Dorian let the young woman clean... What?
God forbid you be a person in service in this. You're like, oh, the crown prince is telling me to do something. Okay. This other woman, I'll have you reported if you do what the crown prince says.
Yeah.
They're so mean. They are so disrespectful. Well, right now, Selena is so disrespectful to the people who are just trying to do their jobs, sir.
Yeah.
The crown prince will be looked at soon enough after she looks at you, okay?
The crown prince is fine.
Except for the fact that
the only injury he got was from you punching him, Selena.
Yeah.
No. My bookmark, it flew away. It's so light. A flip of fabric and it went, whee!
It said, get me out of here.
Get me out of here.
I should be dead by now.
Scowling, Dorian let the young woman clean the small wound on his temple, received when Selena had knocked him out cold. Considering how bloody Selena and Kale were, he felt utterly ridiculous, even if his head still pounded. You've got a concussion. My boy Selena gave it to you. Not as bad as the one Mythros gave Anatar.
But you see, they have magic in that world.
More harrowing lore. Forcing it upon you.
Read
the harrowing subliminal messaging. Popcorn. Harrowing. Popcorn.
Harrowing.
The healer finished with him, giving him a timid, slightly concerned smile, and when it was time to decide who should be looked at next, the glaring contest between Kael and Selena was one for the ages. At last, Kael just shook his head and slumped into the seat that Dorian had recently vacated.
Oh, they're so macho, they don't want medical assistance.
Yeah. He had blood everywhere and ended up peeling off his tunic and shirt so the healer could clean his minor wounds. You have blood everywhere, but they're minor wounds?
Many of them.
Many minor wounds.
He's practically been flayed.
Whoa.
Which, let me tell you, is not a minor wound.
But each individual is a minor wound. So it's just like that scratch, that deep scratch, minor wounds. Minor wounds.
A minor wound that can make it so a dog wouldn't run away and fail.
Well, it was deep. It was deep.
But it's minor. They actually have a different metric for what's minor and what's not minor.
Ha.
Minor, anything that won't kill you immediately.
Ha.
Anything that didn't kill you.
Minor wounds. Despite the scratches and cuts, the abrasions on his hands and knees, the healer still asked no questions, her face pale, and her face an unreadable professional mask. Yeah, she's asking no questions because Selena is literally out here like, do what I say, I'm going to report you to the king, and you'll lose your job and probably die.
She's literally like, man, is this what my life is? Being the medic for the mob?
Yeah, I should have just joined the mob. They have better pay.
Yeah, and
more respect.
And more time off. They have PTO.
They got PTO. Indeed they do. Selena turned to Dorian, her voice quiet. I'll come to your rooms when I'm done here. From the corner of his eye, he sensed chaos stiffening. Yeah, they should all talk together. They should just all have a powwow together and get this all out. And Dorian bit down on his surge of jealousy.
I thought you put this behind you, Dorian.
Yeah, well, he didn't. We all knew. Every time he said he did, we all knew he didn't, and it was really annoying. As he realized he was being dismissed.
I put it behind me. You haven't put behind shit. I put it behind me.
The captain was making a good show of not looking at them. What had happened during the time he'd blacked out, and what had happened when she'd gone to kill Archer.
I want to know, is blackout the proper term for this? Because he was knocked out. Is blackout losing your consciousness, or is blackout like if you're being choked, or if you're like getting asphyxiated or something?
No, I think it's loss of consciousness. Okay. Or loss of memory, really, because you can be blackout drunk.
Oh, that's true. Well, no, that's not the same. Blackout
it's almost a different kind of blackout.
Is when your brain goes to sleep, but your body goes, oh, I have a tiger.
Fine, Dorian said and thanked the healer for her help. At last he had time now to piece himself together, to sort through all that had happened in the last few hours, and to plan how to explain his magic to Kael. But even as he walked out of the dining room, part of him realized that his magic, that he, was the least of his concerns. Because even from the first day in Endovir, this had always been about them.
Them? Selena and Kael?
I guess, even from the first day in Endovir, this had always been about them. I guess? His bigger problem than the magic that theoretically could get him killed that he's been worried about for the last 20 chapters is the fact that Selena and Kael have chemistry. Oh, it's so much more important. Selena didn't need a healer to look at her head. When the magic had taken her over, it had somehow healed everything, because of course it had. All that was left of her wounds now were bloodstains and torn clothing and exhaustion, utter exhaustion. I'm taking a bath, she told Kael, who still sat shirtless under the healer's ministrations. She needed to wash Archer's blood off of her. I don't know, Selena, of like everyone you've killed, like, the Archer's one of the people who supposedly, by your narrative, by your understanding, probably deserved it most. I mean, you do need to wash his blood off because you could get a disease. Also, it's drying and getting flaky and itchy.
It will ruin all of these pretty new gowns you've had Philippa buy you.
Literally. She shucked off her clothing and bathed, scrubbing herself until her skin hurt, washing her hair twice. Only twice? Wow. Scrubbing until her skin hurt, huh? That is really crinkly. That was crinkly.
You crinkly bit, me and my crinkly bitch.
It went into the trash at last. Hey, you leave it there. You leave it in the trash. Bit of Lady Macbeth right there, scrubbing until her skin hurts. When she emerged, she slipped into a clean tunic and pants. That was someone sitting in a chair, in case anyone was wondering.
No,
it's a noisy one.
No one was wondering, I'm sure. Man, since apparently she always has to have pants as a casual thing, she will never know the delights of taking a nice warm bath, slipping into a nice chemise afterwards. She'll never know the delights.
Never.
And for that fact, probably KL and what's his name won't know either, because I'm sure they always put the denim right back on.
My underwear is denim. I shave with a box cutter, blindfolded, of course.
I have no need sleep. I never close my eyes.
That's Dorian and KL getting into a pissing contest.
A pissing contest?
Yeah, over Selena.
Home of the 6-foot pissing contest. If you can, home of the international pissing contest. If you can piss 6 feet into the air and not get wet, you can have a 0 down payment. That's right, 0 down payment. 6 feet and not get wet.
These two couldn't, let me tell you. She slipped into a clean tunic and pants, and just as she finished combing out her dripping hair, Kaol walked into her bedroom and sat on the chair before her desk. The healer gone, he put his shirt back on, and she could see the white bandages peeking through the rips in the dark cloth.
The dark bloody cloth?
The dark bloody cloth, so dark it was almost black. More crinkly paper. Crinkly ass paper. Selena checked on Fleetfoot, who was still unconscious on the bed. She's still unconscious, you left her alone? No one's protecting this dog's airway. No one. This dog, she probably ate not too long ago. She's a toast. She's goner. She's gonna get aspiration pneumonia. Who's still unconscious on the bed, and then walked to the balcony door. And of course she's still unconscious. Heaven forbid she be around to bother this important conversation. She studied the night sky for a long moment, seeking out a familiar constellation. Which one? What do you think is a familiar constellation gonna be? M-dash, the stag, the lord of the north. She took a long breath. My great-grandmother was Fae, she said, and even though my mother couldn't switch into an animal form the way the Fae can, I somehow inherited the ability to shift between my Fae form and my human form.
How lame. Oh, I'm a Fae. And my alternate form is a human? I could have been a hawk. I could have been a mole. I could have been a manta ray. And yet I'm a human.
But I'm a human, yeah.
Oh, is this because mortality is so flaming frail? No! All those animals are just as mortal.
Well, they're cooler. They got Riz.
They got Riz.
And you can't shift anymore? She looked over her shoulder at him. When magic stopped 10 years ago, I lost my ability. It's what saved my life, I think. As a child, when I was scared or upset or had tantrums, I couldn't control the shift. I was learning to master it, but I would have given myself away at some point. But in that other world, you could. She turned to face him, seeing the haunted gleam in his eyes. Yes, in that world, magic, or something like it, still exists, and it is just as awful and overwhelming as I remembered.
Of course it's awful and it torments her.
Well, yeah, she hasn't done it in 10 years. Her Fae's still a baby. Faye is still like 8 years old. See, you don't grow unless you're in that form. Awful and terrible as I remember.
Faye, my animal form was a sponge. That's how I lived for level. I stay most of my time in sponge mode. Whenever I have to do something, pop into Faye mode, go out and do some stuff, back into sponge.
Back into sponge. You might as well be like a hydra or some other polyping cnidarian.
Are they tube within a tube, or are they
sac?
Those sac? Wow.
Yeah, jellyfish are sacs.
Except for that one. There's a jellyfish that might have a butthole. I'll have to look it up for you. But
I thought it was like a cucumber.
Oh, were you in that episode with me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wasn't it like
I thought it was a jelly.
They
They talked about cucumbers.
No, they were talking about ctenophores.
Man, I don't know what
They are a close relative of, well, I wouldn't say a close relative. They are quite similar to cnidarians. They're the little bioluminescent ones. Not too tight. They look like a jellyfish, but like think really short tentacles and like not all at the bottom. They could be like all over in like little waves, and they're bioluminescent. They have pretty colors.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Of course they're bioluminescent.
Well, of course they're bioluminescent. She eased onto the edge of her bed, the distance between them feeling like leagues. I had no control over it, Imdash, over the shift, or the magic, or myself. I was as likely to hurt you as I was to hurt that creature, and yet you didn't hurt that creature either very much. She closed her eyes, her hands shaking a bit. But you did open a portal to another world. How? All those books I've been reading on the Weird Marks, Imdash, they had spells to open temporary portals. And then she explained about finding the passage on Samhuin and the tube and the tomb and Elena's command to become the champion, and what Cain had been doing, and how she had killed the Ritterak, and how tonight she had wanted to open a portal to see Nehemia. She left out the Weird Keys, the king, and what she suspected he might be doing with Caitlin and Roland. Caitlin, oh my gosh. Kaltane. Caitlin, it's Caitlin. You swapped the T and the L to make Kaltane. It's Caitlin. I will keep saying Caitlin, I'm sure, because it looks like Caitlin. When she finished, Chaos said, of course she's not going to, like, they really should all be working together. Like, we need to keep the three of them together. They all need to discuss things. They all need to get on the same page. No more of this, I'll tell you one thing, I'll go tell this other guy another thing, and I'm gonna play both of you.
Yeah.
When she finished, Chaos said, I would say you're insane, except I have the blood of that creature on me, and went into that world myself. If anyone knew, Imdash, not just about the spells to open portals, but about what I am, she said wearily, you understand that I would be executed. His eyes flashed. I'm not going to tell anyone, I swear it. She bit her lip, nodding, and walked back to the window. Archer told me that he was the one who had Nehemia assassinated because she was a threat to his control over the group. He posed as Councilman Mullison and hired Grave. He kidnapped you to lure me away. He planted that anonymous threat against her life, too, because he wanted me to blame you for her death.
And also, how convenient is it that all of this stuff happened just because of Archer? Like, there's no other questions to be like, well, then who was this other person who planted the fake?
Yeah. Like, it's all just Archer now. How nice. How convenient. How convenient to tie it all up in a pretty little bow at the end of the book. As long as it just doesn't feel like it's just dragging on and on at the end of the book like book one. Chaos swore, but she kept gazing out the window, kept looking at that constellation. But even though I knew you're not responsible, she said softly, I still... Ellipsis. She found her face full of she found his face full of anguish. Apparently, is she seeing his reflection in the window that she just said she was still looking out of, or did she turn around to no longer be looking out the window? What do you think?
I wasn't listening.
Typical. You still can't trust me, he finished. She nodded. In this, she knew Archer had won and hated him for it. He's already dead. He's already dead, ma'am. You killed him. When I look at you, she whispered, all I want to do is touch you, make sweet, sweet, passionate love to your body. You?
See,
Yes.
this is like exactly, well, isn't this what happened with the Dorian? She was like, in the last book, she was like, I like you too much. I must stay focused if we can't be friends.
It'd be dangerous for me to be friends with the prince. Yeah, something like that. You're right. It's so much like the last book. They're going through it again. Once again, my frustration about the flopping back and forth between love interests to, like, keep people being like, oh, I want this one. Well, I want this one. So I'm going to stay engaged because I care about that. Yeah, I vote for this. Team Kale, Team Dorian. Team they should all die. In the nuclear explosion caused by the king as he's trying to harness that sweet, sweet, endless power. All I want to do is touch you, but what happened that night? Ellipsis, I don't know if I can ever forget it. The deepest cut on his cheek had scabbed, and she knew it would scar. For my part, I am sorry for what I did to you. He stood, wincing at his wounds, his many minor wounds, and walked over to her. We both made mistakes, he said in that voice that made her heart tremble. She found the nerve to turn to him, gaze up into his face. How can you still look at me like that when you know what I truly am? His fingers grazed her cheeks, warming her chilled skin. Fae, assassin, M-. No matter what you are, I, M-. Don't. She stepped back. Don't say it. Say it. Out loud. Don't say it. Don't even think it.
Out loud. Vampire. Hello!
She couldn't...
Listen, at least with Twilight was fun. Like, it was for me. For me. Like, there's many parts where it's like, oh my goodness. Oh
red flag.
Goodness.
Red
flag. We're walking in a field of poppies. But at least that was fun. This one, not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. What can I say? She couldn't give him everything again. You should have never given him everything in the first place, Selena. M-. Not now. It wouldn't be fair to either of them, even if she ever learned to forgive him for picking the king over Nehemia. When did he really pick the king over Nehemia? He's just been doing his job. His pitiful job.
Poorly. No, he's been doing it very poorly. Nehemia, her journey to find the Weird Keys would require her to go far, far away. It only said far.
Why? Because they literally... Well, I guess there's a lot in this continent that she has to travel to. But they said the Weird Keys were all brought to Avelia by Ganon. But there's more of the
It sounds like the only places she's ever been, though, is, like, you know, the capital, wherever she was in Terrasen, and,
like the Red Desert, Indovia.
Oh, wait, she is well-traveled. She's been to the Red Desert. She's been all over the place. Far, far away. She would go far away to a place where she could never ask him to follow. I need to prepare Archer's body to present to the king. She got out.
Oh, that's right, because she had to kill him eventually.
Yeah, finally. Dragged that out long enough. Before he could say anything else, she picked up Damaris from where she dropped it by the door and vanished into the passage. She dropped Damaris. She dropped this super powerful magic conduit golden sword.
That's exactly why she dropped it. Damaris can afford to be dropped. It's anti-Nick. Anti-dulling.
Rude. Still rude.
I mean, it's disrespectful.
Disrespectful. Good thing Mort isn't there. She waited until she was deep inside before she let the tears start flowing. Kael stared at where she had gone and wondered if he should follow her into that ancient darkness. But he thought of all that she'd told him, all the secrets she'd revealed, and knew he needed time to comprehend it all. He could tell that she had left out information. She'd told him only the vaguest details. And then there was the matter of her Fae heritage. He'd never heard of anyone inheriting their powers in such a throwback way. But then again, no one spoke of the Fae nowadays.
So I reckon throwback must mean how it skipped her mother but got to Hallway.
Maybe. I don't know.
Don't call it a throwback. No, that's comeback. I don't know what throwback means directly.
Don't call it a throwback, you'll put out your back. It explained how she knew the ancient dirges. How did that explain how she knew the ancient dirges? She just automatically knows them because she's Fae?
Oh, did you say she was Fae royalty? Or what?
No.
Did you say she was Talos royalty?
No. He's just like, oh, yeah, your grandmother was Fae.
Great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother was Fae. Your mother couldn't shift, but you apparently had some kind of magic. Wait a second. Why could she shift when she... Oh, wait. Magic disappeared 10 years ago. That's when Fae stopped shifting. Yeah. So she could shift before that. Okay. I was like, why couldn't she shift at all? 10 years ago. That's, so recent.
Well, I mean, we say that, but I think that's not too bad. I saw a post on Tumblr talking about how,
I mean, where are all the Fae? And I know the whole, 1,000 years ago is far too long ago. Yeah. Nothing's ever that long
ago. It's 80 years. It's been 80 years. 100 at most,
No, but, where are the Fae? Did they just, retreat to the wild? They just... 10 years ago. Boom, magic gone. Obliterated.
Well, they are beings of magic, so if you're just a Fae, you're gone too.
You're right. A government could obliterate something in 10 years.
If they were trying to. If they were trying to.
Yeah.
Listen, you can tell when a Fae animal is running around because of the way they are.
Because of the way they are.
So the king was just it's open season on Fae. You cannot, if you hunt a regular deer in your lord's forests, yes, you still will be killed, thrown in prison. But if you hunt a Fae deer, you're doing your due diligence to your king, your civic duty.
Civic duty, even. With a gentle pat on Fleetfoot's head, he left the room. The dog, now unprotected, proceeded to throw up. No one was there to save her airway. She aspirated and died.
Verily, verily.
Verily, verily, I see it. He left the room. The halls were empty and silent. And Dorian, she had acted like Dorian had some power too. There had been the moment when the creature had was blasted away by an invisible wall. Ellipsis. But it was impossible for Dorian to have power. How could he? When Selena's own magic had disappeared as soon as she returned to this world. Selena was a Fae, an heir to a power she couldn't control, even if she couldn't shift, if anyone ever discovered what she was, Ellipsis.
They keep saying she's a Fae, she's a Fae. I think they should make some space for these half-breeds.
Yeah.
She's
part Fae.
They're not Fae, they're not human, they're somewhere in between.
They're in that
Everyone's trying to put her into one category or another one.
Yeah. A Fae will look at her and go, that's not a Fae. A human. Human child.
A human
I would love
it
if that happened. Not that we'll ever know.
Her incredible strength, her endurance, her beauty. A Fae will look at her and see her sickness, her ugly.
Her frail mortal body.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, you don't have elongated canines. Oh, your ears.
She's
they're
hideous.
Tiny.
She's hideous. She is hideous.
Yeah.
I don't hear. Come away. Give me a Fae name. Tumbleweed. I don't want you to catch the uglies.
Come away, Tumbleweed. You'll catch the uglies. Selena was Fae, and heir to a power she couldn't control, discovered. It explained why she was so terrified of the king. Why she never said anything about... Everyone's terrified of the king, dude. Why she never said anything about where she came from, or what she'd been through. Maybe she'd, like to keep that private. And living here, Ellipsis, this was the most dangerous place for her, or any Fae, to be.
To be? Oh, to be.
Most dangerous place for her to be. But then they interrupted it with, for any Fae. Once again, Faes are capitalized. They're special. If someone found out what she was, they could use that information against her or have her killed. That's the same with like any biggish information in this place. K-Hall?
You can use it. We could always use it against you.
Yeah. And there would be nothing he could do to save her. No lie he could tell, no strings he could pull. How long before someone else went digging in her past? How long before someone decided to go right to Arobin Hamel and torture him for the truth?
Why would Arobin know? Kill Arobin and burn the library.
Oh!
All to save his boo, his little girl, his old beloved.
His most beloved. To show that he's worthy of that will she made. K-Hall's feet knew where he was going long before he made the choice, formed the plan. Minutes later, he found himself knocking on a wooden door. As opposed to, like...
an iron door.
Every other door in the castle?
No, those are either stone or glass doors. So.
Oh, except for this one, which is wooden. Okay. His father's eyes were bleary with sleep, and they narrowed as they saw him. Do you know what time it is?
Have you finally had some introspection, my boy?
My boy, have you introspected?
Your mother longs for you.
She longs for you.
You must tell it in your heart. Tell me what is in your heart. Did she really need to know? Or did you just need to tell her?
Exactly.
Oh, Papa. Papa.
He didn't, and he didn't care. K-Hall shouldered his way into the room and shut the door, scanning the dimness for any other people. I have a favor to ask of you, but before I do, promise you won't ask any questions. His father gave him a slightly bemused look, then crossed his arms. No questions. Make your request.
He didn't promise.
Beyond the window, the sky was beginning to lighten into a softer shade of black. A softer shade of black.
I believe you mean gray.
Gray.
No, I mean dark white.
Dark white.
It's not the same.
A softer shade of black. All right, Maas, please explain a softer shade of black. Because there are different shades of black. You got me there, but which one's softer?
Is it like the text, the touch of it, the sweet, simple feel of it?
It's the sky. You can't feel it.
I can.
Where were we? The sky. Beyond the window, the sky was beginning to lighten into a softer shade of black. I think we should send the king's champion to Windolin to dispatch the royal family. His father's brows rose. K-Hall went on. We've been at war with them for 2 years, and have yet to break past their naval defenses. But if the king and his son are eliminated, we might stand a chance of getting through in the ensuing chaos, especially if the king's champion also gets her hands on their naval defense plans. She's an assassin, not a spy. She don't find no plans.
So then it can be anything, remember that.
He took a breath, keeping his voice disinterested. I want to present the idea to the king this morning, and I want you to support me. Because Dorian would never agree to it, not without knowing what Selena was. And K-Hall would never tell anyone, Dorian included. But with an idea this drastic, he'd need as much political muscle as he could get. An ambitious, ruthless plan. His father smiled. And if I support this idea and convince my allies on the council to support it too, then what can I expect in return?
I'll come home, Papa.
From the way his eyes gleamed, his father already knew the answer. Then I will go back to Aneliel with you.
Papa.
K-Hall said, I will leave my position as captain and... return home. It wasn't his home, not anymore, but if it meant getting Selena out of the country, dang, you might want to clear this plan with Selena.
No, remember... I'm coming. No, remember, it's a man's job to just enact things upon the woman that he loves, not to ask her consent or to try to plan with her. It's his job to make all of the decisions for her. to protect her for her own good, obviously.
Getting Selena out of the country, ellipsis. Wyndlin was the last stronghold of the Fae, and the last place in Aurelia where she'd be truly safe. I don't know. I think they'd kill her there. Kaol. Or, maybe they can sense right away. She'd, walk in, and they'd be like, whoa, human. Also, some Fae blood in that human. Also, I think she's here to kill people. This sounds like a terrible plan.
No, don't worry, Selena. Don't worry, Selena can outsmart the Fae.
Even if you're we're sending her there, but then she's just not going to kill anyone, I don't know. Faye might be upset about her. Faye might not like her. Wyndlin was the last stronghold of the Fae and the one place in Aurelia where she'd be truly safe. Whatever shred of hope he'd had for a future with her was gone. She still felt something for him, she'd admitted, but she would never trust him. She would only hate him for what he'd done. That's very... absolutist thinking. But he could do this for her, even if he never saw her again, even if she abandoned her duties as King's champion and stayed with the Fae and Wyndlin forever, Imdash. As long as he knew that she was safe. You'll never know that she's safe, dude. This is like saying, I'm going to release my pet into the wild. It'll be safe with its own kind. It'll know how to survive. It'll be great. And then it dies. It either gets killed by the other animals, some other animal kills it, it starves to death, it eats something poisonous, it gets hit by a car. Selena's gonna get hit by a car and fade him. The Fae have car. We're almost done. As long as he knew that she was safe, that no one could hurt her, literally anyone could hurt her there, dude. He'd sell his soul again and again for that. His father's eyes gleamed with triumph. Consider it done. Consider it done. Bum 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 bum. That ends the chapter.
Oh.
So, I don't like the whole... And this is, of course, in line with the character that we've been seeing the whole book, of just Kael being like, I'm going to solve this problem. I'm not going to talk to Selena at all. We're not going to work this out together. There's just... Nobody works together. I'm just annoyed by it. It just keeps happening. It keeps happening. It's annoying.
Yeah.
The dog, dead. What's going to happen to Fleetfoot when you send Selena across the sea? No worries, she's already died. She aspirated. Those are my final thoughts. Here's what I expect. I'm going to bet that Does the Dog website was entirely wrong. Fleetfoot aspirated, dead on the bed. Selena, in rage and frustration, she goes to Wyndlin, blows her cover, gets killed by the Fae for being a horrific abomination. And then one Fae turns to the other and says, see, this is why we should tell our knights to quit sticking it in the... Yeah. Yeah. That's about all I have to say.
That's about all she has to say. I just am not a huge fan. Like, this happened in Twilight as well, just since I brought up Twilight earlier. Well, it's like, the guy is like, I'm going to make these plans for the woman.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enact them without her consent, without talking about it. I'm not going to give her a choice. So, I'm not a huge fan of that. Pretty shitty behavior.
Yeah. It's just...
I care about her so much.
I care about her so much. I'm going to make all the decisions. I'm going to control her existence. I'm going to enact
my will upon her, and that's how much I love her.
Yeah. It's tiresome. It's not needed. You're not pushing any horizons. There's nothing in this book that's making me go, oh, this is going to be a constructive analysis of misogyny and the reasons for this. Nope. I don't think that series is going to do that. Anyways, I feel like that sums up chapter 52, I think. Chapter 52 quite nicely. Well.
Bye-bye.
Onward and upward.